Hello BookTube, Sarah here and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm coming to you with my November 2017 TBR. I say it every month. What happened to the last month? I remember at the beginning of October being so super stoked about being able to go to Rhinebeck, and then now it's over. And, you know, I have a whole other year to wait for it, and it's already flipping November. When this is posted, it will actually be Halloween. So happy Halloween, everybody. As I showed in my weekend reads, because I'm filming this right afterward. Happy Halloween! Let's talk about some books for November, shall we? So as per usual, I am competing. I am participating, like it's a race. I am participating in the Triple RC, which is the Romance Readers Reading Group on Goodreads, their monthly challenge. I am competing, or I keep saying competing. I think I should try it for the Olympics. Maybe my subconscious is telling me to. Doubtful. I am participating in a lot of different challenges now, and when I do my wrap up for October, I'm going to talk a lot more about that and what books I read for what challenge. But the bulk of my TBR comes from this monthly challenge from this Goodreads group. Just explaining if you're new to the podcast. If you're a long-time viewer, you are familiar with this spiel. So every month there are 10 different categories, and you need to find books to fit into those categories. And you go from there. So let's jump in and get started. Category number 1, N is for November. Read a book that starts with N, or an author whose first or last name starts with N. And the book that I picked is No Darker Place by Debra Webb. This is the first in a series. It is a romantic suspense kind of thriller book, and it looks really good. I picked it up not that long ago, and it fits the category, so I decided to go with it. Book number 2 is Happy Anniversary. Read a book that was published in November of any year, or read a book by a Triple RC member who joined in November of any year. And as per usual, I always choose a member, and I like to go through the members and see what books we have in common and stuff like that. And a book that came up is A Rogue by Any Other Name by Sarah McClane. This is a historical romance novel, and I am really getting into the historical romance novels lately. So I saw this one, and actually it was Steve Donahue who talked about this book. And I immediately went and put it, and bought it, I think, because I think it was like, I think I got it because it's an Avon book, and Avon is now an imprint of Harlequin. So if you have Harlequin rewards points, you can use them towards Avon books. Just saying. So I got this one, I think, for free, using my rewards points. And yeah, so, but I do think I'm going to listen to it on audio because my library actually has a copy of it. So I love me some audiobooks lately too. Category number 3 is Featured Author Challenge. Laura Kaye. Read a book by this month's featured author, or a book by any other author with her first or last name. I looked at this author. It's a lot of paranormal. I've been reading a lot of paranormal lately, and I don't care for it. I shouldn't say a lot. Last month was also a paranormal author, and I'm really not a fan of that genre of romance. So I decided to look through and see if I had any authors on my TBR whose name either started with Laura or whose last name was Kaye, and lo and behold, I did. And the book I will be reading is Never Forget Me by Marguerite Kaye. And this is a Harlequin historical novel, and it takes place during World War II. World War II? 1914? Is that World War II or World War I? Oh my gosh. It's got to be World War I, right? I'm wrong. I don't know. You guys know, and I'm sure you're screaming it at me right now. I'm not big on the wars because they're kind of depressing. But it's 3 separate little novellas, all written by the same author, that take place during different years of the war. So it sounds really interesting. I've had this one on my TBR for quite some time, and I'm really looking forward to finally getting to it. Excuse me. Category number 4, Chicken Soup for the Soul Day, which is on November 12th. Read a book just because you want to, not a book that fits a spot in a challenge or for a book club, one you want to read. And then it says in parentheses, of course, it can work for a challenge spots or book club too, but that shouldn't be the primary reason for wanting to read it. So the book that I'm picking is A Thankful Heart by Melissa McClone. This is book number 2 in Love at the Chocolate Shop series, which I mentioned last month I started the first book. This is a 12-book series. One book comes out and follows different characters each month and follows within the same chocolate shop. Like it all kind of revolves around this little chocolate shop in this little small town. I loved the first book. I finished it yesterday, or I finished it on Friday, excuse me. And this is the second book, which takes place in November. So like I said, each book follows a different month, so I'm going to be reading them in that order for the next year until the series is done. And I want to read it, so it fits the category. Category number 5 is World Peace Day. No, that is on November 17th. Surely shared experiences will encourage peace with our neighbors. Read a book that takes place in multiple countries, features characters from multiple cultures, or is set in a different country set in a country different from where you live. Again, I could take the easy way out and just read a book that's set in the U.S. because I do live in Canada, but I like to expand my horizons. One of the authors I read earlier this year that I absolutely fell in love with was Sonali Dev, and she is an Indian author. And the book I'm going to be reading for this is A Bollywood Affair. I read A Bollywood Bride earlier this year, which was so, so good. And I'm now getting this one on audio. My library has a copy of this as well. So I own a copy on ebook, but I'm going to be listening to it on audio, and I'm really, really excited about it. Like I said, this is a new favorite author of mine, and I am hunting out her books whenever I can to fit them into challenges to read them because she is really, really good. Category number 6, Occult Day, which is November 18th. Get out your Ouija board. Don't get out your Ouija board. Ouija boards are very dangerous. I'm not joking around here, guys. That's stuff that's juju you don't want to mess with. Just saying. But it says, get out your Ouija board and read a book shelved as a paranormal romance, has an occult or supernatural characteristics, or has a primarily black cover. I'm fitting in my Crew of Hunters novel, so the next one will be The Silenced by Heather Graham. I will be listening to this one on audio as well. I have it on audio from Audible, and that is narrated by Luke Daniels. Anyone that I didn't mention the narrator for, I will have put there, so I do apologize. That one I know off the top of my head, it's the same gentleman who always narrates their books. Category number 7 is Universal Children's Day. That's November 20th. Children may not be universal in romance, but they do exist. Not in my household. Just kidding. It makes me sound like a horrible person, doesn't it? I do love children. I really, really do. And I love sending them home to their parents. And I love my peace and quiet. My niece and nephew mean the world to me, and I would never want anything to happen to them. But I am the best Auntie Sarah because I do not have children of my own, and I can focus all of my attention on them. And it's brilliant. So it says, read a book with a child or children included in the story, or read a YA or a new adult romance. I don't know about that. Personally, I wouldn't put the new adult romance in there because that's just kind of weird with the whole children thing, but whatever. And the book I picked is Texas Mom by Roz Denny Fox. This is a Harlequin Western romance novel. I had it on my TBR. I went through and I found it, and I thought this one fits the category. Category number 8 is Black Friday, November 24th. Read a new release or a book you bought received within the last month because Black Friday is all about shopping. It says here, personally, I save it all for Cyber Monday. I agree. Even though our Thanksgiving in Canada was back in October, like back earlier this month, I love American Thanksgiving, because I do customer service for the U.S. So on that Thursday, Friday, it is so quiet at work for me. I get so much backlog of work done. It's fantastic. Plus, even though I'm in Canada, we still get all the deals that you guys have in the U.S. So it's brilliant. The book I picked for this is The Strawberry Hearts Diner by Carolyn Brown. I just picked this one up on ebook, and I checked Audible, and Audible had it for $1.99. So I will be listening to this one on audio. Again, I don't have the narrator off the top of my head. I apologize. I will put it right there. Category number 9, Make Your Own Head Day. I don't know what this is about. That's on November 28th. It says, read a book that has no head or face on the cover, so you get to make up the head that you are reading. Kind of weird. Anyway, the book I picked is Murder in Plain Sight by Marta. I'm going to be listening to this one on audio as well. This is a Amish thriller, or an Amish romantic suspense novel. Marta is a great author. This one, I'm trying to remember the cover off the top of my head, but obviously you guys are going to see it right here. I don't think there's even any people on the cover, so this one absolutely fits this category. And my tablet just turned off on me. Category number 10 is Reader's Choice. Read any book of your choosing. The way I usually do that is I look at my TBR and I look at how many books are on my TBR, and I think it's over 600 at this point. And I literally do a randomizer. I go from number 1 to 600 and whatever it is, and I hit generate, and whatever number that lands to be on my TBR, that's the book that I pick. It just so happens it's a book that I had picked for, I believe, September. and that is The Last Chance Matinee by Mariah Stewart. I'll be listening to this one on audio. I had this one picked back in September, but ran out of time because it's a slightly longer audiobook. I think it's close to 12 hours, and I was close to the end of the month and I hadn't gotten to it yet. So I ended up picking a shorter book, a shorter audiobook that I had. And this one just so happened to come back up again. So the universe is telling me I need to read this book. So I'm really hoping I'm going to like it. So I am looking forward to this one too. The only other book I want to talk about is my pick. Because for Nonfiction November, I am not reading the 4 books that, like I'm not doing a TBR for Nonfiction November because I don't know if I'll get to 4 nonfiction books on top of everything else that I plan on reading this month. I had planned on trying to find nonfiction books to fit those categories, but I was having a really hard time. So I'm just kind of going with what I would normally do. And then the nonfiction book I plan on reading is called The Last Castle by Diane Kiernan, I believe. I've been listening to this one on audio as well. I will put the narrator down here as well. But this will be my nonfiction book. I've talked about this book numerous times lately, and this is about the history of Biltmore Castle, or the Biltmore House. So I'm very, very much looking forward to that one. So anyway, guys, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments below what books are on your TBR for November. Have you read any of these books that I've talked about, and what did you think about them? And until my next video, guys, take care and happy reading. Bye.